really upset, like emotionally upset, that he won't be playing for England.
Well, let's see what happens. I'd like him to play for England.
There was a significant difference in the way Percival was talking about wanting to play for England versus the way Lomax was talking about whether he would be playing for England.
Yeah, I think they're quite different characters as well, though, as to how they talk after a game. They're very different types of characters. So I wouldn't read too much into that, Mark.
Fair enough.
Let's see.
Right, okay, let's put a bow on some other stuff then. So, predictions. I predicted that you would win. Alan decided to go for Leeds to make it a game, but there you go. In terms of the Super Brew, more celebrations for you, David. You won the host Super Brew quite convincingly. I was second, Alan was third, Sarah was fourth. In the main Super League Super Brew as well, Super League Pod Super Brew, you won that too, David. You had a fantastic year picking games.
More by luck than judgment is what I'd say, Mark.
Well, Rich Owen was second, so some consolation for the Wire fans out there that they were still able to pick the results. John McNelly, another Saints fan, he was third, so well done to those guys, trailing just behind you, but I think you've been in charge of that competition for a good period of time, so really well done, David. And then in the Fantasy League, Neil Ormston wins the Fantasy League, breaking Alan Bagley's stranglehold on the Fantasy League, so well done to Neil, and again, more kind of hollow success for the Wire fans, I suppose. So shall we talk about some of the other news stories anyway that have been happening in Super League whilst the main focus has been on the Grand Final? Because there's been a few transfers and re-signings and that sort of thing. So shall we just cover those off? Shall we rotate? Do you want to do the first one, David?
Yeah, I'll do that. So Castleford Tigers have signed Hull KR prop Albert Vete on a 2-year deal. The 29-year-old Tongan international spent 2 seasons with the Robins and scored 7 tries in 29 Super League appearances. It's a good signing for Castleford, that.
He's a big body, isn't he? And Radford likes big bodies, so seems to fit in. Salford Red Devils have signed Wigan Warriors prop Oliver Partington on a 2-year deal. The 23-year-old made 92 appearances for his hometown clubs and scored 5 tries.
Huddersfield second row Joe Greenwood has signed a new contract with the club until 2025. 29-year-old has made 48 appearances for the Giants since moving to the club from Wigan Warriors in 2021, scoring 2 tries.
It's quite a low try return. I think he scored more than 2 tries against Huddersfield for Wigan in his 3 years at Wigan, but that's a long-term deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He's a funny guy, Joe. I thought he was going to be a superstar when he was at Saints. He went off to Australia. His body shape completely changed, and I don't think he's ever quite got back to the promise that I thought he had when he first started out. But there you go. I
don't think he was ever consistent at Wigan. I think he had some really good games, but he wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
And I think there's been to me, it's been a bit like that at Huddersfield too, but obviously they're pleased with him. They've kept him on. England international hooker Michael McAlorum has signed a new 1-year deal with Catalan Dragons for 2023. The 34-year-old has scored 8 tries in 95 appearances since arriving in the south of France from Wigan in 2018, and of course helped them to their Challenge Cup and League Leaders Shield in his time so far in France. So I think that move has done him an absolute world of good as a person. So I think long may his stay in the south of France continue for him and his family. Okay, that's Super League covered. We're now going to move into other results.
So in other results, it was the Championship playoffs this week. And in the first game, Lee absolutely banjacked York 70 points to 10. That's a massacre by anybody's standards. However, the game of the weekend was clearly the Featherstone Batley game, and it finished Featherstone 28, Batley 32 in a big surprise.
Yep, Shoddy and Mungo Allen said. Batley proved to be Fev's kryptonite once again this year. Not sure this does any favours for the credibility of a £1 million game, which one team probably doesn't want to win, even if they could. What next for Fev, other than cancelling contracts, that is? And Callum Percy 99 said, "What a performance that was from little old Batley. Atmosphere was great from the 500 or so Batley fans. Was definitely not expecting that, even though they've done it this season already. Just a shame I'm on holiday to go watch Batley away at Lee, or I would be there again. Hashtag up the doggies." Yeah, hopefully Batley put up a better fist of it than York did, but against Lee, but Lee go into that massive favourites, of course. But what a performance by Batley! I mean, the scoreline was close at the end, but they controlled this game. They led this game throughout. They were the better team.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw the highlights, Mark. I didn't actually watch the game for this one, but from all I could see and from what I read, they were the better team. They were a better team throughout. And what a fantastic result for Batley. They must be absolutely delighted. I'm not sure I agree that they wouldn't love to come up into Super League, but it would be a one-season stay by the looks of things.
Well, they've never spoke about having an ambition to become a full-time top-tier club long-term sort of thing. And even when they had the dalliance with the qualifiers, when we had the 3-8 system, they said then that they weren't, they'd compete, but they weren't looking to get promotion. It wasn't like in their aims. But Lingard's done a fantastic job, continues to do a fantastic job there, and I think if he wanted it, I think he could be a Super League coach.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him at a club next year. There's always a little flurry of sackings out there early on in the season, so it's always possible.
Yeah.
He's certainly done a great job there.
Yeah. Talking about coaching departures, the other fallout of this game, the big fallout is, as we move into the news, is that Brian McDermott has resigned as head coach of Featherstone Rovers following the semi-final defeat by Batley. The 52-year-old, who led Leeds to 4 Super League Grand Final wins and 2 Challenge Cups in 8 seasons at the Rhinos, was appointed to lead the Rhinos to promotion. However, despite finishing second to Lee, Featherstone were denied that place in the final by the Bulldogs, so will not be going to Super League yet again. And he said, "I came to the club with a clear objective to achieve promotion to Super League, an objective which unfortunately has not been achieved. I feel my departure will give the club the opportunity to take a new direction, and hopefully they'll be able to build upon the progress made this year." But yeah, I suppose inevitable. It didn't. Yeah. It seemed uneasy as the year went on. That relationship. There was always a bit of a disconnect even at the start because of what he'd said when Toronto got promoted in place of Featherstone a few years ago. But it's not unexpected.
I wasn't surprised. Yeah. Maybe they'll pick up Batley's coach for next year. They could do worse.
I don't think that he'd want to go to Featherstone. But anyway, shall we rotate through the other news stories quickly?
So in other news, Whitehaven have confirmed the signings of Lachlan Lansky, Lasaru Tabu, and former St Helens hooker Josh Eves, who I always quite liked, for the 2023 Championship season.
Newly promoted Championship side Keighley have signed utility forward Brad Walker on a 2-year deal from Wakefield. The 24-year-old Cumbrian has made 25 appearances for Wakefield over 3 seasons following his move from Widnes. He gets married next week, doesn't he? So a big time for Brad Walker.
Yeah, Barrow Raiders have announced the signings of Salford forwards Greg Burke and Jack Wells ahead of the 2023 Championship season. Burke, 29, joins the Championship outfit on a 2-year deal, and 25-year-old Jack Wells has signed a contract at the end of the 23 campaign.
Hull's Jordan Johnston will make the switch to Championship in 2023 on a 2-year deal with Widnes. Johnston, who's 25, has spent the past 3 seasons with Hull FC, but he made 56 appearances, but he did previously play for Widnes before that spell, so he's going back where he started, really.
Yeah, and Toulouse have confirmed Tony Gijo, Romain Navarrete, Matty Russell and Corey Norman are leaving the club following their relegation from Super League. The latest quartet takes the number of departures to double figures.
York City Knights have announced the signing of Australian hooker Josh Daly from the 2023 Championship season, and to wrap things up for the Championship this year, in terms of what we'll be talking about, the Championship and League One awards took place, didn't they, this week? So, Championship Player of the Year was Edwin Apape from Leeds Centurions, the PNG hooker who's been exceptional for them. Then Championship Young Player of the Year was Sam Esse, who had spells at Featherstone and Barrow, I think on loan, wasn't he, from Wakefield? So well done to him. Betfred Championship Coach of the Year was Paul Crary from the Barrow Raiders. I think Barrow did exceptionally well this year to get to where they got to after being promoted from League One last year. One of the more entertaining clubs as well, so I think that's richly deserved for Crary. They were the Betfred Championship Club of the Year, were Barrow. Then in League One, Jack Miller from Keighley, their captain, got the League One Player of the Year. The League One Young Player of the Year was George Roby at Swinton, I think. If I'm right, isn't he a Huddersfield player on loan, maybe? League One Coach of the Year was Reece Lovegrove of Keighley. I think you can't argue with someone who's won all their games and got promoted. And they were also Club of the Year. Then there was an award for the Betfred Championship or League One Foundation of the Year. That award went to Sheffield Eagles. Really well done to their foundation, having to kind of basically rebuild back up from the ground up now that the club's back based in the city of Sheffield. And special awards were given out to Batley and Oldham's chairman, Kevin Nicholas at Batley and Chris Hamilton at Oldham. I think that was to celebrate their longevity. I think 25 years both of them have held their positions as the chairman of those respective clubs. So that was the Championship and League One awards.
Wonderful. And in League One, it was the playoffs, and we had Doncaster played Rochdale, and it was Doncaster 52, Rochdale 20, but we don't have any match reports for that.
No, but it means Doncaster go and play Swinton again next week, don't they, to fight it out for that second promotion spot to the Championship for next year. Then in the news, relegated Championship club Workington have appointed North Wales Crusaders as Anthony Murray as their new head coach on a 2-year deal. Murray, who was named the League One Coach of the Year in 2021 and was one of the shortlisted people for that award actually again this year, is replacing Chris Foreman as head coach at Workington. I think it's a coach who knows the division well and is very good at coaching in that division. I think that's a really strong appointment, you would think, for Workington to bounce back.
Which would be good, wouldn't it? That would be good. For
sure, yeah. Because they're kind of cut adrift now, aren't they? It's the only Cumbrian side in League One.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It'd be good to see them to get back up. Got a soft spot for those Cumbrian teams.
Mm-hmm.
In the NRL, it was semi-finals, and it was the Cowboys 20, the Eels 24 in a very exciting game of rugby. David Hunter said, "I'm not ashamed to say I cried. I've been waiting so long for this. Such a great effort from the team, and even if they don't win the title, this season was special." Well, I hope they go well for you next week, David.
And then it was the Panthers 32, the Rabbitohs 12 in the other semi-final. I did watch this one on Saturday. Alan Walker got in touch. He said Souths had to get off to a great start, but even 12 points just didn't seem enough. Sure enough, the Panthers went in at the break all square, and Leniu put them ahead right after. Leota's massive hit shook Trell out of the game early on, and he never really got back in. Souths had their chances, and only the Panthers could have beat them, but the Panthers are the Panthers. Sets up the Battle of the West at the Big Dance. I mean, the first half was pretty much video referee decision after video referee decision, and in between that, the Rabbitohs scored 2 against the run of play tries, but the second half was absolute dominance. And we talked about like short kicking game qualities. Well, the Panthers had that and then some, and they were outstanding. They're
going to take some beating in the final. That's for sure. If they win it this time, would that be 3 on the bounce for them?
Will it? I don't know. I can't remember.
I think it might be. I can't remember either, to be fair.
But they've been an absolute force for the last few years, and you know, they're an outstanding team. That's it for other results. I wonder if like there'll actually be a World Club Challenge next year, rather than all the clubs pretending that it's the other club's fault that it didn't happen,